things move quickly in the world of college football, so we're saying Trevor Lawrence who? No, I'm just kidding. All right, yes, we're already looking ahead, though, to the 2022 NFL Draft, and that is because our Ryan Wilson apparently never stops working. The guy he has going first off the board, it's not a quarterback as of right now, rather Oregon defensive end Kayvon Thibodeaux. His goal, by the way, for the 2021 season, he wants to win the Heisman. He says, yes, I know only one defensive player has ever won. That was Charles Woodson back in 1997. But he is setting his sights high. So taking a look at Ryan Wilson's list for the 2022 NFL Draft, his mock there 1 through 10. We're going to go through some of these guys, see what Ryan has to say about a year early. All right, let's welcome in our good friend Ryan Wilson, no longer in Cleveland. You made it back home. When did you do this, Ryan? When did you make this mock?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I just woke up. It was done. I don't even know if I went to sleep, Amanda. But yeah, 51 weeks later, or before the next draft, here we are. We got 2022, the first one in the books. I'll just say this before you start asking me some questions that I probably don't know the answer to. It's probably instructive to think of this more as a players to keep an eye on, because there's not going to be any Trevor Lawrence here or any Chase Young. It's going to be really interesting in that regard in terms of finding that number one wide receiver, wide number one pick, and seeing which quarterbacks emerge as sort of the Joe Burrows or the Zach Wilsons of this class.
All right, already heading into the season, not quite as clear, but as you mentioned, that kind of makes it fun. It makes it interesting. So as of right now, the first player you have going off the board, Kayvon Thibodeaux to the Texans. I mentioned he wants to win the Heisman, and to clarify, because I say defensive end, he says that he thinks he's transitioned into more of an outside linebacker. His coach, Mario Cristobal, said, look, he's going to just do what he did last year, and that is try to be the best player in the country.
Yeah, Cristobal also called him the most disruptive player in college football, and I think that's exactly right. Thibodeaux has a tattoo on his arm that says the chosen one, and that gives you some indication of his mindset, and that's how it's played out in his first 2 years at Oregon. Our Dennis Dodd just wrote a fantastic story about Thibodeaux, so check that out on the website. I was just reading it right before I came on with you, Amanda, and everything we've seen from Thibodeaux, it gives us the indication that he's going to be a truly special player. He'll have one more year at Oregon, and he can decide, or will decide, based on his performance, where he ends up going, but there's no reason to think anything other than he is one of the best players in college football based on what we saw in 2019 and 2020.
I mean, you brought up tattoo, Ryan. You know you did that to yourself, because we're all still waiting for your Ryan Finley tattoo. That will be a question for another day. We'll get the 7th graders on that. All right, as of right now, you have your first quarterback going off the board in Sam Howell out of North Carolina. He was the first true freshman to ever start a season opening game for them back in 2019. He's entering his junior year now. And as I mentioned, your first quarterback off the board, you have him going number 2 overall to the Lions. So why is that?
Well, it's funny, man. I couched it at the beginning of the segment that this is more of a players to watch than a mock draft, because I don't want this to blow up in my face 51 weeks from now when Sam Howell maybe falls to the bottom of the first round, or one of these quarterbacks that's on this list ends up returning to school, or maybe it's a second-round pick. But that's how much this is going to fluctuate. Sam Howell is an absolute gunslinger, and that's served him well. He had 38 touchdowns as a freshman, 30 last season as a sophomore. But he also has that gunslinger mentality in that he forces balls and he makes mistakes. So we want to see the continued progression as he goes through his college career, where he makes fewer of those mistakes and makes those plays, negative plays, turn into positive plays. So that's what I'll be watching for. We had a ton of playmakers last year, too. De'Ami Brown, one of Pete's favorite guys, was drafted. Had the 2 running backs that were drafted in the 2nd and 4th round. So we'll see how he does with fewer playmakers around him. But again, there's no taking away from what he accomplished, as you mentioned, as a true freshman when he threw those 38 touchdown passes.
All right, keep in mind, just an eye, keep guys to watch. So Spencer Rattler, 8 to Washington. Yes, that means kind of something here. Oklahoma quarterback. So last season he was a redshirt freshman. Started off a little rough, but he definitely progressed as the season went on. So what sort of steps does he need to take this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think you sort of hit on it, Amanda. Slow start. A lot of turnovers, and then he sort of put it together. I think he had 10 touchdowns in his last 4 games, maybe just 1 interception, and that's what you want. And when you're playing in a Lincoln Riley offense that's produced Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, both number 1 overall picks, there's some expectations there, and I think Rattler probably pressed early on in his career last season as a starter, and then started to put it together. He plays with a lot of confidence. Some people would say it's cocky. I'm fine with that. He's the quarterback. You don't want him out there as a wallflower, and he just has to continue to build on what we saw the last month or so of the season. The good news is that we're all hopefully getting as close to normal as we were before the pandemic, and that'll be more streamlined for the players as they get through the summer workouts and get into the fall season. So I think Rattler's going to have a great season. We'll just have to wait and see. But based on what I saw over the last 5 games in Oklahoma, it was a great start.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, Ryan, you saw the Raiders draft. Pete Prisco gave it a D. It was terrible. So as of right now, you're looking to get them some help. Again, hypothetically speaking. So as of right now, you have them selecting USC quarterback Keaton Slovis, number 9 overall. What are we watching with him?
He just needs to play with more confidence. And the issue with him wasn't a general lack of confidence. He had an elbow injury last year that affected the way he played. His completion percentage dropped a little bit. He completed 71% of his throws in 2019. He played so well, in fact, that JT Daniel ended up transferring to Georgia. So he just needs to get that confidence back, be healthy, and continue to make plays. You see here, he keeps his eyes down the field. He's incredibly accurate with the football, and that's what NFL teams obviously want. I mean, that was Mac Jones's whole story, the ability to be accurate, even though his athleticism wasn't there. Keaton Slovis is a better athlete. And again, just coming back, being healthy, and not being concerned about the elbow injury that slowed him up a little bit in 2020.
All right, so a lot of quarterbacks there. I want to talk about the guy right behind him, Malik Willis. You have him going number 10 to the Panthers, but I think this guy's really interesting. So he's the quarterback for the Liberty Flames, Ryan. He was at Auburn in 2017. In 2019, he transferred. He had to sit out that season, so we saw him last season. And, you know, last year was really BYU. Zach Wilson exploded onto the scene. Could Malik Willis be that guy this upcoming season?
Fun fact, Amanda. So Malik Willis and Liberty beat Coastal Carolina, which was the only team to beat Zach Wilson and BYU. So that's the connection there. And the Coastal Carolina defensive coaches were absolutely gobsmacked at how good Malik Willis was. Fantastic arm. We can see that he can run here. He does everything. And we talk about these new age quarterbacks and their versatility. You're looking at it right now. He can throw the ball through a brick wall. So he's going to be fun to watch. Is he going to be a first-round pick? I don't know. But I'm excited to see how things unfold in Liberty, a program that didn't exist 15 years ago and is sort of come out of nowhere, so to speak. They're producing NFL players. They have really good. They're really competitive in Division I. We just mentioned they beat Coastal Carolina, a team that gave Zach Wilson all he could handle, and a really good defensive team. So he's going to be a fun guy to watch as we head into the season here.
Right now, you only have one running back going in the first round. That is Texas A&M's Isaiah Spiller to the Cardinals at 14. So that's pretty high, first of all. So this past draft, of course, we saw Najee Harris, Travis Etienne go back-to-back 24-25. So why is Isaiah Spiller worthy of such high recognition right now?
Because he's really good. Here's the other thing that we talk about. Next question. Here's the other thing we talk about with running backs in today's NFL. You have to be able to contribute as a pass receiver as well. So Spiller can run, and he benefited from playing behind a really good offensive line. A lot of those guys were drafted and will be drafted. But he's incredibly tough here. He's hard to tackle, great contact balance. And he's also a contributor as a pass receiver that adds that versatility that you see in NFL offenses. Long gone are the days of just sort of straight-ahead runners running between the tackles, Jerome Bettis style. He was incredibly effective, during his era. But now we're looking for guys, as Pete Prisco likes to call them, more airback-like, the Christian McCaffreys, Alvin Kamara's. And we saw that reflected in this draft class last week. And whether it's Najee Harris, who's much bigger, or you mentioned Etienne, who can do a little bit of everything. And I think that's the direction we're going. And Spiller certainly fits that mold.
Ryan, one more quarterback to talk about, Desmond Ridder, quarterback for Cincinnati. You have him going right now 26 to the Broncos. Older, entering his redshirt senior season. He actually thought about declaring for this past draft. He said 2 reasons. One, he had a baby girl back in the spring, didn't want to disrupt that. And he's got a chip on his shoulder, undefeated regular season, didn't make it to the playoffs, and he wants more.
I love it, and I'm glad he's coming back because I want to see more from him. And again, when we talk about quarterbacks, typically the first word you hear is consistency. They have to be more consistent. And Ritter's fun to watch. He's a gunslinger as well, but he also brings the athleticism, the ability to run off the edge, and he can do that. I just want to see more of it, and that's it. I think he is right to be upset that Cincinnati didn't get more respect at the national level, and he has a chance to prove the critics wrong. And he could be one of these guys that plays well enough to improve his draft stock and earn his way into the first-round conversation. I saw glimpses of that, and I just want to see a little more of it.
Our producer Jack would like to notice that these orders are in reverse Super Bowl odds, and as of right now, the Broncos are at 26. So do that with what you will. All right, let's move on. This past draft class, had a very talented wide receiver class, 5 going in the first round. You're looking at another 5 going into this next year. Who are you eyeing, Ryan?
Well, I'll mention one thing. Producer Jack mentioned that note to you because he emailed me and said, why aren't the Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl again? He's a Buccaneers fan. Jack reversed the ball odds, that's why. So thanks for sharing, Amanda.
What is the deal? He's just all about the Bucs. That's his only mindset is Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
And he earned it. It was a long time coming, so congratulations for that. But as for these wide receivers, a couple of names to keep an eye on. So Chris Olave, we know at Ohio State. He came back. His teammate Garrett Wilson is going to be fun as well. John Mechie is fun out of Alabama. I'll mention Justin Ross out of Clemson. So he had a neck injury that kept him from playing last year, and there were concerns that he may not ever play again. He would have been all over the first-round conversation had he played and come out in this draft class. He's been cleared to play. I want to see how that looks once he gets back on the field. Fingers crossed he stays healthy because he is an absolute first-round talent. He gave Alabama all they could handle back in 2019, and when they went on to win the national championship with Trevor Lawrence and T. Higgins, the other wide receiver, who ended up going in the second round last year. And Treylon Burks might be the best wide receiver in this draft class, Amanda. No one knows about him, but they'll know about him very soon, if not sooner than September when the season starts there.
All right, Ryan, thank you. And I've checked the odds for producer Jack. The Bucs are still not the favorite to win the Super Bowl. It is still the Chiefs. The Bucs are plus 650. So that is just for producer Jack. Ryan Wilson, thank you so much. Get working on that next one. You're number 2 for 2022. Also take a break, my good friend. You did a lot of work over the weekend. You can hear much more from Ryan and our guys. All things NFL at the Pick 6 Pod. Make sure to download and follow.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.